Hello, welcome back to the channel. This is the basics of Diag, and today we have what could be quite an interesting one. We're looking at a 2007 Renault Twingo with the 1.2 turbo engine in it, and the vehicle owner's concern is ABS light on, traction control light on, I think. Power steering doesn't work. So obviously the first thing is to confirm that that is the case. So let's start it up. And then we get an audible warning. If this looks like it's flashing, it's because of the camera rather than the actual dashboard. But there is no traction light, I lied. We have ABS light. Obviously we have the stop light. I've just taken the handbrake off now. Obviously the handbrake light doesn't go out. And we've got the orange service light. So yeah, and also the speedo doesn't read. It should read 0 when you're not moving anywhere, but obviously we've just got two lines. So I've got the top-down top scan plugged in, ready to go. So we'll do that now. So we've just auto ID'd this VIN and we'll confirm Twingo 2. Going to do an auto scan. It says turn on the radio, however there's no radio fitted, so that is irrelevant. We'll do a scan. Now I've already pre-scanned this, and we're looking at a communication fault. If it's reading the ABS and it's telling us the ABS system does not exist, when I know it does. So yeah, communication fault. Just let it complete this scan. And then I'm going to go to reports so I can see just all the faults on one screen. So in the engine control module, we've got some CAN issues. Vehicle speed information's missing. I'm assuming that comes from the ABS module. In the airbag module, we've got an ABS/ESP transmission absent. Ignore the voltage supplies. This has had a flat battery. So yeah, so the airbag module can't talk to the ABS module. We've got vehicle speed information faults in the engine control module. I'm going to go back. What I'm going to try and do is go into the anti-lock braking system manually. No communication. Okay. Now my first port of call with a no communication fault is, if I'm not using a genuine diagnostic tool, which this isn't, is to swap to another diagnostic tool. So I'm going to try this Think Diag 2 device. It is rare, but I have had it happen where it just won't communicate for some reason to a particular module. You try a different scan tool and you can communicate, read faults, look at data and all that stuff. So I'm just gonna swap device. like I say, if you were using the genuine Renault, or if I was using the genuine Renault scan tool, this would be a step that I wouldn't need to take. But you know, we're here. I don't have the genuine Renault tool. It's a step I'm going to take. And in fairness, when I did do a previous scan on this, it was using a snap-on modus ultra, I think. We still had no communication to the ABS, so I'm pretty confident this is the route we're going down. But we'll have a look at what this tells us before we make that decision. All systems diagnostic. Renault. The tool is lit up. It's just beeped to confirm that. I'm going to do an automatic search. Ignition's on. Twingo 2. Health report. And at least in this video we could see a sort of side-by-side comparison of the top scan and this Think Diag 2. For me, I think the Think Diag app is it's more pleasing to the eye. I like how it gives you a sort of a time scale of how long a health report is going to take. Yeah, but I mean, they're all much of a muchness, aren't they, really? I find the Top-Down app, when I use it at work on the iPad I've got, for some reason the app doesn't fill the screen, so it just looks a bit cheap and a bit sort of unpolished, really. Whereas this Think Diag fills the screen on this Google phone and on the iPad, so yeah, it seems nicer to use. The graphing system on the live data is better as well. Oh, right, the scan's complete, and we can see it's found 5 abnormal modules, none of which are the ABS system. So again, I'll just click report, just so I can see all the codes on one screen and I haven't got to go through individual modules. And then just click that. So SRS system again. There's obviously a transmission of data missing from the ABS. Engine module. Multiplexed traction control connection, which is the ABS. Instrument cluster, just battery voltage. This one's battery voltage. Power steering. Vehicle speed is open circuit or shorted to earth. And if we go back, I'm going to go back. I'm just going to go into system selection now and try and find ABS and no communication. So that is about all we can do with the scan tool now. Then it's pretty useless, really. May as well I don't know, just hang it around hang it around rear view mirror or something. So yeah, where do we go from here? My next port of call is going to be a wiring diagram. I have one. It looks like a genuine one. It is off the Garmin app, which is a free app that I downloaded, I don't know, 12 or 18 months ago perhaps. The only issue with it is there's no key to the diagram. Now all the components on it are given numbers, and I haven't got a key as to what each number means. I can take an educated guess, so we'll just I'll put it up and I'll sort of explain through it what I think is what. So on the right hand side, we have 4 components, all with the same sort of symbol, and they're more than likely going to be the wheel speed sensors. Underneath that, there is what looks like a switch type component, which I think is going to be the brake light switch. On the left hand side, At the bottom we have a single ground point with 2 ground wires from the ABS control module. At the very top on the left hand side we have 3 power supplies. Is there 2 fuses? I can't remember. There's 3 wires and then they're either individually fused or there's just 2 fuses, or does one come from one fuse box and 2 come from another fuse box. I think that's what happens. And then in between the power supplies and the ground we have components with the transistor symbol in them, and to me they're usually control modules. So I think there's one with more wires from it than any others. I'm going to assume that is the engine control module. I think there are 2 CAN bus wires that come out of this as well. They usually sort of have the infinity symbol around them, which indicates the sort of twisted pair, or the sort of related to one another, if you will. You'll see it on the wheel speed sensor wiring as well. And then the other modules I'm not bothered about, because I know that for this module to work properly it needs them 3 power supplies to be good, it needs the 2 ground wires to be good, and it needs the 2 CAN bus wires to be good. If I've got all that, then I'm either looking at, I've just had a warning saying my device is too hot, video quality may be affected. Yeah, if we've got powers, grounds and CAN bus wiring, then it's either the hardware in the module that's at fault or the software in the module that's at fault. I have done a bit of sort of research, and I've been on ECU testing, and they do list a repair for this issue, this exact issue this car has got. But I don't want to jump to conclusions. I don't want to think I know the answer before I've actually done any tests. So right now we need to get to that module anyway, down and here, do the test. ABS pump, I've unplugged it because it's hard work getting in, seeing which wire is which with it plugged in. I know best practice is to do it with everything sort of plugged in. But yeah, I'd have to sort of strip this plug down. There's shear bolts in this ECU bracket I'd have to take out, I think. So yeah, we're doing it unplugged. And let's position it a bit better. So I've obviously looked at the diagram. I've got written what we need to test. So the positives are pin 1, 14 and 20. Grounds 13 and 26. And our CAN signals 21 and 23. Now I've got this little test light to start with. It's got a 501 bulb in it. It'll light up red for positive, green for negative, and it'll give us a voltage display as well, so we can check volt drop. I'm going to check for grounds first. So I'll test the tool on the battery. So 13 volts there. If you can see, there's a good reading. It's not flashing in real life, that's just the camera. So our grounds are pin 13 and 26. Now, pin 1 is this side. 1 up to 13, I think. This is 14 up to pin 26. 13, 26. So on this end. For bulb lights, voltage reads 13. This one. Bulb lights, voltage reads 13. So there is no resistance in them whatsoever. I'm going to move clamp to battery negative now. Check the positives. I think we may have some permanent powers. We may have some ignition powers. So pin 1 is here. 12.9. 14 is here. 12.9 and 20 is up here somewhere. I've got a feeling that's ignition on. Uh, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 is in here. 12.6, 12.4, but obviously ignition is on now, so we have some consumers on, taking a bit of voltage, so I'm not worried about that. And obviously this draws about 350 milliamps at 12 volts. May not be enough to show sort of any issues, so I've got this as well. Just a H7 bulb in an aerosol lid. Some connections off an old headlight unit. It's got some spade terminals on the end. So what I can do is just use that ABS loom. It's got a good ground, we know that from this other test light. And then just move across all the positives, switch ground, because there's two, move across all the positives. I know this isn't going to blow any fuses or cause damage. This draws about 4 amps. I think the lowest rated fuse was a 5 amp fuse. So we're safe that way. So we'll do that now. This should light, if this light's really bright, we know our powers and grounds are good. So we'll go with the ground side first. And that was sort of these two. These spare connectors are fantastic, and then I'm just going to touch in this positive, bulb lights, touch this positive, bulb lights, try and get in this one, bulb lights, move earth to this one, bulb lights, bulb lights, bulb lights. The only other factor we need to consider is whether pin fitment is an issue between obviously the male female connectors on that ABS pump. It's a rare occurrence in my experience, but I'm not going to discount it just because I've never experienced it. For now, I need to get the oscilloscope out and check the CAN waveform. Now, next up, oscilloscope to check the CAN signal. Now, I think a lot of people are put off oscilloscopes because they can be seen as expensive, especially when you're talking about pico. However, I'd like to argue the fact that it isn't that expensive. I've got 2 picoscope oscilloscopes here that cost less than 400 quid for the pair. The only downside with them is they're not automotive oscilloscopes, so you can't use sort of picoscope automotive. But this is the first one that I bought 2 years ago, 18 months ago. It was £170, I think, plus the 10 quid postage. I can't even remember what model it is, like a 4224 perhaps. Up to 100 volts, this one does, 2 channel. Downside with this one, it's only compatible with Picoscope 6, if that's a downside. It's got a 12-bit bit depth memory in it. I know a lot of the cheap ones only have 8-bit. The black one that you see, can't remember what is it, the 2000 series. And then the third one I got, the second one I bought was this. Picoscope PC oscilloscope. This was 200 quid because it was untested. So to be fair, I did take a punt on buying it. It's a 4-channel. This is a differential oscilloscope. So if you don't know how it works, you may question some of the readings that you get. Well, this will do a max of 400 volts. This is again 12-bit. Speed of it may not be, I think it's 5 megabits per second the speed. That one's 20, I think. It's plenty fast enough for CAN. The only thing it may not do is flex ray, because flex ray is pretty quick. But I have never had a flex ray fault to diagnose as of yet. So yeah, obviously I've just had to go in the house, dig out the laptop, get these out. It's not even sort of hooked up ready to go yet. So I have just put a bid on a Snap-on Modus Ultra because I sold my previous one. I overpaid for it, I think, when I bought it. But I think I lost 160 quid in selling it. But I do like the oscilloscope in the Modus Ultra. So I've just had a bid accepted, 310 quid on the Modus Ultra, only for the scope. The software on it only goes up to 17.2, but it was in my head that I wasn't buying it to scan anything with. It was purely for the ease of use of the oscilloscope. I can just pick it up, turn it on, leads in and ready to go. Because at the moment I haven't got space for a trolley with my oscilloscope on. Obviously, I don't know if you can see the garage roof. It's in progress. So I've got some stud work on the sides, but it's nowhere near complete. So for now, I need something, well, to use in the meantime, but I'll probably keep it for that sort of price. It's not worth getting rid of. Or if I do decide to get rid, I'll probably get 300 quid for it. Same with these. If I decide to get rid of these, they've got to be worth 200 quid all day long. Anyway, we're getting sidetracked now. Let's get this hooked up and see what the CAN signal looks like. In. Pins 21, 23, ignition is on. As you might be able to tell from the buzz of throttle body, I think. We've got a bit of a signal going on. I just want to zoom in a bit, because that does not look good, but it may be because this is unplugged, and if there's a terminating resistor in that ABS pump, unplugging this pump is going to cause the signal to change. So I could either plug this in, or I could wire a resistor across the back of these banana connectors, which I think is what I'm going to do, just until that signal comes good, if it comes good. So what I've actually done, I've taken this off, we've plugged this in, I'm back probed in now. Hopefully I can get it off easy enough. Them yellow things should just push down and the thing pulls off, but we still have a poor CAN, I think that's CAN high signal. So yeah, that'll be the first thing we need to tackle. I'm probably going to have to stop this video here because I'm going to need some information from the wiring diagram. It looks like that CAN wire goes to a connector somewhere. But as I mentioned earlier, I haven't got a key to this diagram. I don't know where that connector is. I don't just want to start ripping things apart, just following the loom just for the sake of it. I want to know exactly where that connector is, so I can go to it straight away, no time wasted, no effort wasted, and see if we've got a good signal at that connector. Maybe need to unplug it. Maybe if I get to the connector, I could load test the wire from one end to the other, check for shorts to ground or anything like that. So yeah, that is where we're at the minute. Another thing I could do is see if these CAN wires do go to the engine control unit. If they do, that is literally right here by the battery. I could obviously uncover it. This shear bolt's holding it in, so it'll be a bit of a pig, but we could then see what the signal's like out of the engine control unit. Maybe bypass the wiring loom from here to the ABS pump. That could be quicker rather than going to the connector. We're just bypassing it altogether. But yeah, I need information. Right, I have just been doing another bit of Diag on on this Volvo. I was looking at a vehicle area network. Now it was only yesterday I was looking at the Twingo, which is what I'm relating this to, and it's to do with the settings on this scope. So obviously you remember we had one of the CAN signals looked well off, you know, nothing like what it should have been. I think it was CAN high, it was on this blue channel, and I have just obviously made a schoolboy error. I've just gone into the settings when looking at this Volvo, and we had the bit depth set at 15, and we had active filtering on at 20 kilohertz. And I have got a feeling that is going to have obviously messed with that CAN signal to make it look like, well, how it looked. Obviously I swapped the leads on the car when I was doing it to make sure it wasn't the lead that was an issue. So I think I need to go out and recheck with this bit depth set at 12 and the active filtration turned off. Should have checked that to start with, but what can I say? Forgot, didn't I? At least we didn't start ripping wiring looms apart and stuff before I'd realised. But yeah, that is usually the first thing I go on and check. Whatever I was looking at last has obviously needed a bit of cleaning up. So yeah, I'm going to go back out now to the Twingo and we'll show you what this CAN signal actually looks like. Maybe the module does need replacing. I was kind of hoping it was a faulty CAN signal because I can't be bothered taking the ABS pump off and bleeding all the brakes up. It's been sat for 3 or 4 years, hasn't it? So what are the chances all the nipples are going to come undone? I don't know. But yeah, let's go and double check this CAN signal with all the filtration turned off. Right, here we are then. Back in this ABS pump, and look, a nice CAN signal there. So let me show you what happens when we set this to 15, which is what it was at. Look at that, straight away. Turn on active filtering, gets even worse. For some reason, this software is set up so that as soon as you open it, these are the settings that it reverts to. So I'm going to turn it all off, go back to 12-bit, then you can go to File and select Startup Settings, save User Default Settings. So now if I close it off, open it up again, go to settings, there we are. So I'd rather have the software set up at the lowest quality, the lowest resolution in the first place, and then if I need to clean up the signal, I can do that after I have captured it. It saves any sort of errors like that occurring. So we're going to be taking this ABS pump off is what we're going to do, send it away for repair. It's maybe a second-hand one, I don't know if they're coded. It's kind of that sort of age where it may be coded, it may not. 2007. I think repair is 200, 250 quid. Comes with a lifetime warranty. I could get a second-hand one if there's sort of one of the similar part number, maybe as a bypass test. I've done that with sort of engine ECUs before. A couple of Nissans. One was a Nissan Note that had a supercharger bypass valve fault, and the ECU had lost its earth to that component. And my boss, obviously, before going to the dealer and having them code an ECU in, wanted sort of confirmation, so we ordered a second-hand ECU off eBay for, I think it was 70 quid. Plugged it in and the earth came back. And I've done it on a Qashqai, a Nissan Qashqai, because the coolant temp sensor voltage from the ECU was like, was it 3 volts, 3.5 volts with it unplugged. I was expecting 5 volts. The information I was getting off All Data was saying it should be 5 volts. So I ordered a second-hand ECU. I think that was 30 or 40 quid off eBay again. Plugged it in. We were getting the same 3.5 volts. Was it 3.3 from the ECU? So at that point, it was sort of higher percentage of that voltage being right. So yeah, I may get a second-hand control unit. We'll see what happens. Anyway, that is it until I've made a decision and got some parts. Right, it's about a week later now. We're back in the Twingo, and the route I went down was second-hand used ABS pump. I've got it plugged in, but I've still got the old one plumbed in, if you will, so I haven't cracked any brake pipes off yet. I just wanted to see if electrically anything has changed with this second-hand unit plugged in. I'm happy to report with ignition on, we now have a speed displayed on the instrument cluster. If I start it up, now the ABS light is still on. I don't know if that's a code that needs clearing or if it is due to a coding issue, because obviously the pump I've got was never coded to this car, was never meant to be on this car. So what I've got here is this Modus Ultra that I may have mentioned. I think last time I'd put a bid on 300 quid for this, for the scope more than anything, but it'll do this Twingo no problem. If we can communicate now with this ABS control unit, then we know we are onto something and we're in. What codes have we got? Okay, so if I clear these codes, come on, no communication. What I'll do, if I go out, can I do, oh no, I was hoping to do an auto scan. We do an auto ID, not an auto scan, a full system scan, but that option isn't there. So we'll go back in, codes, clear codes complete, codes, no codes present, start it up. That light is flashing because I'm still in the ABS control unit. Oh, and now they've gone out. We have nothing on the dash. I do love it when a plan comes together. Now, that pump was 25 quid off eBay. For me, that is a good bypass test if you're going down the route of either repairing that pump, because it was £200 plus the VAT, plus whatever margin you were going to be putting on that. It's going to be 300 quid in parts, and you've got the labour to swap it out, bleed all the brakes. You may find that we've got some seized bleed nipples. So it's going to be, if you're repairing the original pump, you're going to be at least £500 to get it fixed. If you're going down a new ABS pump and module route, it could be 500 quid just for the part from a Renault dealer. We're not doing that. I'm going to fit this second-hand pump. You don't need to see me do that, because yeah, we can see the fault is fixed. Happy days. So that is it for this one. We'll see you next time on the basics of Diag.
Connection established.